Hello, everybody. It's Graham Cope with another My Music. It's that time of the day, 1 o'clock, when you can put down anything that you're doing and you can join us to listen to a little bit of chat about music. Of course, it might not be 1 o'clock now because due to the power of the internet, you might be watching this on repeat. Whenever you choose. It's a bit like TV these days. You don't actually have to watch it when it happens. It's confusing. Who knows? We might even be in a different time dimension. Anyway, let's come back after this video from Analog Trash. I'll be speaking to Ollie from Coastal Fire Department. Well, there you go. The wonderful Analog Trash video there, which I've now seen probably about 50 times. If you're watching it for the first time or hearing it for the first time, I hope you enjoyed that little interlude before we speak to Ollie. Ollie, how are you? Where are you coming from today?
So I'm in Guernsey, sunny Guernsey, and I'm really good, thanks.
Good. Guernsey, yeah. I stopped there once. Didn't actually get off the plane. It's one of those places.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little stopover place for a lot of aircraft.
Yeah, you're flying on to Jersey. Yeah.
I was flying on, yeah. And it's like, well, you've touched down here in Guernsey. Don't move. Stay seated. We'll be off again in a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I nearly did that with Iceland as well once. I had the opportunity to, on the way to America, to go via Dublin, via Iceland, and then stop off at the airport for like an hour or so and then go on. And I thought, oh, that could be quite cool. I could actually then say that I've been to Iceland, but in the end I thought, no, I'm going to take a more direct route. It's one of those things, isn't it? Just to have that on your passport. Yeah, I've been to Iceland. I've been to Iceland most weeks to get me frozen sausages anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
I was only there the other week. I bought some broken Jaffa cakes. I didn't know they existed, and my kids love them.
Broken Jaffa cakes. What's all that about then?
So that just misshapen and haven't obviously passed the quality control, but they still taste amazing. And I saw them and they had massive boxes and they weren't very, very expensive. And I thought, oh, my kids would love those. And they did. We got through that box pretty quickly.
Oh, you made me feel hungry now. And it's, it is 1 o'clock. So it is kind of lunchtime.
Yeah.
So tell me, how long have you been making music?
So Coastal Fire Department has been making music since about 2013, I think.
Right.
We've been through a few sort of band members, and we've been through a period where we couldn't find a drummer. It's always the way. Drummers are really hard to come by everywhere. Every sort of muso I speak to across the UK, drummers are in 3 or 4 bands, and we just couldn't find the right drummer. And so it sort of went on the back burner for a while, and we sort of got going again in 2018, and we've not really stopped since.
Yeah. What do you think it is about? Actually, that's a really good point, and it was always the case years ago when I was in the band. Trying to find a drummer was such hard work. What do you think it is about drummers that makes it? Is it drums are really hard to play well? There's a lot of drummers, but a lot of them aren't very good. Or is it just the fact that the initial kit, etc., costs so much money? I mean, what is it about drums?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I mean, let's be honest, and you'll know as well. Some drummers are mad, so you have to either they're mad and you can put up with them because they're an amazing drummer, or they're mad and then you think this isn't going to work out. But I just don't know what it is. I wonder whether it is something to do with the kit. Very expensive to get into drumming. And also, to get really good at drumming, you need to put the hours in. I mean, our drummer Ozzy practices every day. He's got his own drum shed, and he loves it. And that's why he's pretty good. But yeah, and also sometimes you do come across a drummer and it literally is, you know, like, we need a bit more than that, and they haven't really got it. So yeah, it's just maybe it's difficult to find the right one. That some of them are mad.
Maybe it's starting them at an early age. I think perhaps that's what we need to be doing. Perhaps we should be encouraging youngsters at an earlier age, and maybe that's the problem, right? Because at school, not being funny, but you always remember like kids going in with like the guitar on the shoulder or whatever, don't you, to school?
Yeah.
Oh, they're having guitar lessons. I mean, before that, it's the recorder or the flute or the trumpet or whatever. All things you can
violin,
carry.
Yeah.
Let's break that down a second, right? I'd like to know, and perhaps we could do like some kind of massive survey across the UK. How many of those kids that actually went in with a flute or a trumpet or something like that, or a violin, actually ended up playing those things, right? Whereas, you don't see someone carrying a kit in, do you? Because you can't. But there's limitations in terms of how many kids can actually drum at once. But somehow we need to kind of find a way of doing this, getting more kids drumming at an early age. If there are any drummers watching this over the following week as it goes out, and you've got any ideas of how we can get more kids into drumming at an early age, please let us know. But I think it's crucial. I was very lucky. I was in a band from when I was 14. I was in a band with one of the world's best drummers. This is true. Yeah, absolutely. I was in a band with someone called Troy Miller. Now you can go and look Troy Miller up if you haven't ever heard me tell this story before. Anybody? This is absolutely true. So Troy was 10 when he started in our band. 10 years old, right? He had a really bad Axe kit. Anyone that remembers Axe, nothing wrong with Axe, but it was these adverts in the back of the adverts. Other kits were available. There were these adverts in the back of these music magazines, and you could buy like a drum kit for 99 quid, a guitar for £99, a bass guitar for £99. It's probably called something else now. And we got him one of these really, really cheap kits, and that was his first kit. And I think he went through it in a matter of months. But he was 10 years old, really took to it like a duck to water, etc. Liked to play a little bit of piano and other stuff as well. Ended up being Amy Winehouse's drummer, Laura Mavula's Laura Mavula's musical director. Recently was involved in the writing of Diana Ross's new album. And he's done a bit, done a bit in his time. It all started out early, 10 years old. And two things about that. It was about encouraging him right from the outset. And it didn't matter if he made mistakes or whatever. It was just encouraging him and saying, look, practice, get better, practice, get better. That's what we need to do. Anyway,
and that age, that's all you need to do. You need to be super keen, interested in your instrument, and just go for it. Absolutely go for it.
There you go. So me and Ollie have put the world to right in terms of drummers. Hopefully now there's going to be a.
But you know what? Now I'm going to. So I run our Twitter account. So what I'm going to do is I'll put a poll up about drummers and where did you start drumming? Because actually I find that really interesting. There, the more I think about it, and of course you're going to have mums and dads. If you've got a kid coming home and say, "I want to be a drummer," they're going to go, "Oh no, couldn't you have another instrument that you could?" So yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
why have we got such a shortage of drummers everywhere? And
you know what else we should do, Ollie? Is we need to make sure every kid's seen Love Actually. that famous bit in Love Actually where the boy falls in love with the girl, and he wants to win her around, so he decides he's going to become a drummer, and he puts the Liam Neeson character through hell, drumming away in his room, but he absolutely murders it. So that's it. That's what we need. That's what we need. We need that kind of encouragement. So, in terms of you, that's when you started Coastal Fire Department. Not that long ago in the history of music, but before that, you were doing music from a young age yourself.
Yes. So before that, I was in a few bands in sort of my late teens. Did some bedroom recording and had some demos accepted by Phonogram Records, and it all started to get a bit serious, and I had to get a lawyer involved, and they gave me the best advice ever. And they basically said, "Look, guys, Ollie, have you got a good job?" I said, "Yeah." Have you got your own place? And I've just bought a flat. He said, if you sign up with a major label, they'll take everything off you. You'll be living in the back of the van. You'll be spat out the other side, owing them money. And unless you're massive, which is very small percentage potential, it'll just eat you up and spit you out. Yep. And he gave me that was the best advice ever. So I didn't take it any further. And then I sort of wandered away from music for a while. And then a friend of mine is a music teacher, and he'd sort of realised that I'd done music back in the day, and he sort of hassled me to get back into it, and so I did.
Someone's stalking Troy Miller now, Andrew.
Oh, look at that.
He also worked with Gregory Porter, Emily Sandé, Jamie Cullum, and Kylie Minogue, to name but a few.
Kylie Minogue, awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the thing is, once you know a bit of information like that, you can't get it out of your head. See what I did there?
That's great. Oh man, I've just got it. Yeah, slight delay in this time zone. Oh yeah, but what a CV to sort of even if it's not quite your bag, but to be working with those names and to be really doing it well in industry, fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, what I would say is that there's quite a number of names which of people that you perhaps wouldn't know that he's played with there. The dog wants to get involved with the show today.
Hey.
There he is. Hello, Trooper Dog. Snarky Puppy, people like that. A lot more people on the jazz scene as well. So, but look, let's get back to your music. Heavily influenced, I would say, by the likes of the Pixies, who you've done the cover of yourself. What was it about that kind of music that really, really resonated with you?
Yes, so what it was, I think, because I used to buy NME back in the day, and you'd read, this is in the days before internet and everything like that, and so you'd have to go and take a chance a lot of the time on buying an album or hearing it on John Peel or something like that. And I kept reading about bands and reading about the Pixies. And then I think I might have just heard one of their songs. So I bought the album Doolittle. And when you start it off with the bass, I'm like, oh my God, that is off the scale. And then it went on. And I just thought those first four songs the Pixies did were just phenomenal. And then I thought, well, I've got to go back and buy everything else. So you go back and you buy everything else. It's just the way that they do it. And I'm sort of like an anti-guitar hero. I don't like loads of solos or anything like that. So you've got Joey Santiago, who's just doing noises and things coming in and out. You've got the loud, quiet dynamic. And I think it really started to shake up the music world. I mean, that's when, off the back of that, partly, grunge came along. Kurt Cobain said all he wanted to do was to be in a Pixies covers band. So they've introduced a lot of things, and I think it sort of sprouted from there. It's not the only influence on grunge, but I just love the way that the Pixies organised their songs, and so that loud, quiet dynamic we use quite a lot.
I think, in a way, it was dancey as well, if you know what I mean. It was. I remember going to nightclubs when that sort of music was played, and hearing songs like "Monkey's Gone to Heaven" in a nightclub, and there was an intensity about that music and a realness about that music, but at the same time, you could actually dance to it. There was at times a real groove and a real beat to it, and the bass line kind of carried your body along
Yeah.
You know, Kim Deal's bass carried your body along. And as you say,
it really is. It's the sum of the parts, isn't it? It's the four of them somehow have got together. I can't remember how it was. So Joey Santiago knew Black Francis, and then Kim Deal answered an advert, and then she knew the drummer Dave. So it's the sort of chance to sort of come together, and then ultimately it just sounds absolutely amazing. What they've done together, it's just awesome. They just play their parts so well, and they're not trying to overdo everybody. It's just the sum of the parts, and it's the teamwork that makes the dream work for them. Were
you also a follower of other stuff that was happening on 4AD, etc. at the time?
Yeah. So 4AD. What else? So Cocteau Twins. I was very much into. The other thing I was very much into was creation as well. So I was very much into Ride, Swerve Driver, My Bloody Valentine. You could reel them all off. So all of that sort of was happening, in the early 90s, sorry. And I was just mopping that up, shoegaze, grunge, alt rock, Sonic Youth, whatever. And I was just mopping it all up. Absolutely loved that. And I just think for me, that was the best era for guitar music. Even, Britpop came around at that time. Just in that 90s gap, you've got so many genres that just really came to the fore, all sort of guitar driven. I thought it was a great time. And the other thing I'll throw in is the Pixies artwork really grabbed me. And so we've actually used Simon Laballastia, who's done some of the artwork with the Pixies for some of our artwork. So the artwork for our album and the artwork for the Gouge Away was done by Simon, who did the Pixies. And when you looked at it all, the music, the image, the sound, the artwork, everything, you're like, wow, it's just amazing. Just amazing. I don't think we get that anymore.
How about in terms of your own stamp on all of that? The Coastal Fire Department sound, and where on earth did Coastal Fire Department as a name come from?
So Coastal Fire, I'll answer that one. So we're in Guernsey, and when you look across the east coast, if it's a clear day, you can see the French coast. And I was walking, it's after work, so it's about 5:30, and I look across to the French coast, and it looks all sort of red, as if it's on fire. And I just thought, and I actually laughed to myself, and I thought, France is on fire. And then I thought, if they did have a fire on the coast, how would they handle that? And I thought, that's ridiculous. They wouldn't have a fire on the coast. And then when I came home, I looked up Coastal Fire Department to see if there was such a thing, and there isn't such a thing. I thought, great, what a name for a band. It means nothing, won't offend anyone. And it's just silly. It just doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, there's no such thing.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
no,
because if you had a fire on the coast, you'd use the sea, wouldn't you?
Exactly. So I just thought, perfect. And things when I'm in a band, it's always the band that has the last say in everything. And I floated all these band names, and Coastal Fire Department. They all went, yeah, that one. Okay, fine, done, sorted. That was it, really.
What? So in terms of we know where, to some extent, where your inspirations come from. Where would you say your particular?
Oh yeah.
What's your particular sound?
I find that really hard to say. So, it's very influenced by Pixies, Nirvana, but also very influenced by later bands, Balance and Composure, Violent Soho, Super Heaven. There's even some bands around at the moment, Super Morza, and a few others, are really doing some great stuff. So I take all that on board. But what we try and do when we go in the studio is we'll give away a few tricks. What we try and do is when we're doing the guitars, because we are guitar driven, we do double, triple, quadruple track a lot of the guitars to make them absolutely massive. And so what I might do is I'll double track a rhythm using a fuzz pedal, then I'll double track with a distortion, then I'll double track with an overdrive, and maybe sometimes we'll go back again. And then we'll mix them all in, mix them together to get one massive sound. So that's really what we're trying to do, is make the guitars massive, trying to have a bit of a growly bass and a bit of a mad drummer. And that's about it, really. I find it really hard to explain what our sound is, but there are times when we're recording earlier, a few years ago, we'd have a reference point. So we might think, oh, this song sounds a little bit like Pixies. Let's have a Pixies approach to this song. But now when we're recording, we're not having, I'm not getting a lot of ideas of musical reference points. They're just something just in my head, or we just go with the flow and see what comes out. So we're not really referencing so much these days. It's I suppose that's Coastal Fire Department, but I can't describe it.
And lyrically, where does that come from?
So lyrically, I usually go with observations, feelings, or stories that are already told. So observations could be as silly as, I'm just trying to think of a song. So Coco is about Masonic influences and things like that. So I just find it all a little bit weird having organised people sort of working for themselves. And so that was just an observation. Feelings, so like a song called Loner. I just felt sometimes when you go out and about, or you're sort of sitting there with a group of people and you actually think, I feel really alone right now. And just, the world's just slipping by, and so sort of develop that. And then for stories already told, I take things that have already been told. So Cry Your Heart Out was actually influenced by a short story by Oscar Wilde called The Happy Prince. It's about a statue that sees the crowd struggling, and he gets this swallow to pick the gold and the jewels off the statue and give it out to the people to help them. So that's roughly it.
Wow. You've actually, it's actually quite unusual in a way to have someone that's like,
yeah,
this comes from here and that comes from there and that comes from there, and have these quite different strands for what you're doing. Whereas, typically a lot of songwriters will say, well, this is very autobiographical, or actually I'm kind of inhabiting a story type space. But I like the three different strands that you've got there, or three different developmental strands. So that's quite unusual in a way.
Yeah, so it's just so I suppose when it's a story already told, then you could just take reference points from that. So we've got a song called Jacob, which is about Jacob's Ladder, the film with Tim, what's his name? And I just loved that film. And then, so when I was struggling for lyrical ideas, I just thought, I love that film. I wonder if I could sort of put it across in a chronological order. But with feelings and observations, that's really easy. That's just, just things that sort of stick out in your mind. And you just take it from there, really. But I don't pitch up. I do hear people sort of saying, oh, I really want to write a song about the underprivileged in the world and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. So I don't turn up deliberately trying to do something. I just go with the feel and the guts, and then sort of see what's going to come out, and then sort of develop it a little bit.
So any member of the Pixies actually listened to your album? That's what I want to know.
I don't think so. I work with someone who is close to the Pixies. Their son manages the Pixies, and I'm told that they are quite aloof. They don't even talk to each other. They just turn up at gear. They don't even do sound checks a lot of the time. They just turn up. They don't even talk on stage, deliver the set, and go off and do their own thing. So I don't think any of them have probably heard our version of Gouge Away. And obviously
they have, but they're not telling you.
I mean, we try to do a homage, so we try to do it justice, but we also try to put a few spins on it, and also we sped it up by 5 beats per minute just to give it a little bit more zip. Yeah. I don't think they would have listened to any of our music, to be honest. Do you know what? If any of them had, I would be over the moon. Even if they said, "Yeah, I didn't like it," that'd be cool.
Well, what we'll have to do is we'll have to tag them in to this.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll tag in Christian Hirsch as well, because I know that she knows Mr. Black Francis. And so maybe we can find out whether or not anybody actually has, from the Pixies, has heard Coastal Fire Department. If people haven't heard Coastal Fire Department yet, and would like to find out a little bit more, where's the best place for people to go and listen?
Well, I know most bands will rubbish this, but Spotify is your easiest way to get to hear us, or even YouTube, where we put out videos for all of our singles. Best and easiest way, really. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. But yeah, Spotify, Bandcamp, those are the main things, I suppose. Yeah, we just appreciate anybody who gives our music a bit of a play, really. If you give it a go and say, it's not for me. In fact, we try and answer everybody who comments, and sometimes when we're going through a promotion process, we even get people commenting, I don't like this music. Well, I still say thank you for giving it a try.
Thank you so much. It's free, free to try, but then you can buy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, if anybody just gives us a try, I mean, the latest album is probably where we're at, and gives a little tip. We give away a few clues there where we're heading sonically.
Absolutely, I love your music, and I love your
thank you
kind of enthusiasm, and I love the way you interact with people on social media as well. I think that's something to be, heralded as well, because some artists just kind of take a back seat and don't really care.
Yeah,
it's nice that you kind of get involved with the music community and really kind of
we seriously care about other bands. We care about music listeners. We're not there just to sort of say, listen to our music, buy our merch. We're here to sort of say, look, if you listen to our music, cool. If you want to have a bit of a debate, because we mix up our posts, so we're not always just posting about our music. We might post about guitar, or we might post about, we do a Tech Tuesday where it's about guitars and amps and stuff. If you just want to interact with us on anything, we'll interact with you. And if we don't ever respond to a comment, I'd be really upset, because we try and respond to everyone. And sometimes out of that we get some really meaningful chats and discussions and DMs and whatever. And we've got time to have a good chat, because we're all just a bunch of music lovers, and we could chat music all day.
Well, I can attest to that you've always been fantastic on social media, and so I thank you very much for that. Listen, everybody, this has been Ollie from Coastal Fire Department. Do go and check out their music if you haven't done it yet. Find them on all available platforms, but do spend some money as well. As Ollie said, there's music to actually buy.
We got some merch as well. We got some t-shirts.
Yeah, I might have one of those. T-shirts. Buy one of those. It tells the band that you've actually spent some money listening to their music on Spotify. Until next time, this has been myself, Graham Cove, Ollie from Coastal Fire Department, talking music. I'll be back later in the day when I have another musician for you. Stay tuned. I will be back at the end of the day. Until then, bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham.